In this last video of chapter 3, we're going to talk about nesting control structures. I said at the end of the video 2 that you could nest an if with a switch or a switch with an if, and you can, but you don't tend to. So in this example, we're just going to talk about nesting if statements. Okay. So again, I'm going to have kind of a made up example just to show the structure here. So you see I'm in my program here with my basic parts of my code here. So in this case, I'm going to ask the user for the age and height in inches. Then I'm going to return whether they're a tall youth, a short youth, a tall adult, or a short adult. And I'm just randomly saying that if you're above 70, if you're 72 inches or above, which is 6 feet, I think my arithmetic's not great, you're tall. And if not, you're not. Okay. So that is the basic idea of what we're going to be doing here. Okay. So when we have these kinds of structures, um, when there's more than one, I like to start with the outer one and then work inside rather than the other way around to avoid doing things all at once. That probably didn't make much sense, but let's go through this. So I've got my two variables here. So let's do a cout on enter age. Again, I'm not doing any checking. We'll do some checking soon. Okay, don't put indel there because I'm doing an input. And again, I didn't initialize my variables with a value because I'm doing it right here. Okay, so I'm going to cin age. Okay, and I'm going to cout, enter the height in inches. Okay, then cin height. Okay, so there are two things I'm checking on, right? I have to worry about whether they're young, whether they're an adult or a youth, and we'll do 18 as the cutoff for that, or whether they're tall or short. Okay. Now I could do this with complicated relational expressions. So I could say something like if age is less than 18 and height is greater than 72 to say that they're a tall youth. Okay. But instead, it's sometimes preferable, okay, to break this up into pieces. So I'm going to first deal with the age. That's my outer loop. Okay. So I'm going to say if age is less than 18, and then what I do, because I'm not done yet, I just put a comment in here. So this is going to be a youth. Okay. I'm going to do an else, because if they're not, we're not worrying about maximums here. If they're not less than 18, we're going to assume they're greater than 18. Okay. So I'm going to do this adult. Okay. So that's just a placeholder for our second if statement. Okay. So I can now go back and add where it says youth here. I now took out if they're tall or short. Okay. So I can say if height is greater than 72, greater than or equal to, if they're 6 feet tall, we're going to say they're tall. Okay. Now I know that I am both tall because of that one, and I'm a youth because I'm inside of this one as well. Okay. Okay. The else here, I'm short now, but I'm still in the youth section. Okay. So I could then put my cout statements here. I could cout all youth. And down here, I could cout short youth. Okay. And I certainly could have when I first put the outer one in, the old and or the youth or the adult, I could have put a print statement in there and made sure those were working. But I'm going to be brave and see if it all works out. Okay. So all of this then is inside of this one. Okay. So I can then probably quicker. Go ahead and hit Control K to cut all that stuff. Control Y yanks it back. Go down below here, yank it back again. Okay. But now I have a tall adult and a short adult. Okay. So again, if we go through all of this, this is our outer if. Okay. So if I'm inside of this bracket, so anywhere in here, the age is less than 18. So it's all youth through here. Okay. If instead my only other option is to be in this else section, all through here, I'm in the adult. Okay. If I'm inside of this control structure, then both age is less than 18 and height's greater than or equal to 72. Okay. If I'm down here, the age is still less than 18, but the height is not going it's going to be less than 72. Okay. The same thing down here. At this point, I'm saying that the age is greater than 18, greater than or equal to 18, and the height is greater than or equal to 72. Here, you're greater than or equal to 18, but you're less than 72 in the height. Okay. And you can nest if statements as many as you need to, but I do tend to build the outer ones first, put a placeholder comment, and then add the others as we go along. Okay. See if this works or if I've done a typo. It's been a typo day, so I didn't do a typo. How exciting is that? Okay. Get rid of, I don't think that you see that, but it gives me a weird little annotation thing there. Okay. So let's say I enter 12 and then I'm 60 inches tall. That should be a short youth, and it is. Okay. So let's run it again. Let's say I'm 12, but I'm 77 inches tall, really tall. I'm a tall youth. Okay. We want to test all the options. So let's say that I am 44 and I am 54 inches tall. It's a short adult. If I am 44 but 66 inches tall, I'm still a short adult. If I'm 44 but 77 inches tall, yeah, now I'm a tall adult. Okay. So that should work. So general advice for when you're dealing with the if statements, it's often the case when you go to your code, it's not doing what you want. You can't make the assumption that your if and your if else's and your switches are working like you think. Okay. So that's a time when you want to put some print statements in. I've put print, I've been desperate enough to say, like, I'm in this if statement. That's all the print statement says. Okay. To see if that condition's true. Okay. And if you're looking at your code and you enter the correct stuff, but nothing happens. Okay. So if you think you're in here because you've entered a 6 and a 50, okay, and you're not in here, then either one of these two, and you can check them independently. Am I here? Am I here? One of these two is not formatted correctly, or the data that you're testing against is not correct. Okay. It's got to be one of those things. Okay. So, when you're doing that, you can pinpoint exactly where the program flow is going. Okay. It's also important as our programs get more complicated, that we try to make them as readable as possible. Okay. So that's again where I always put the brackets on a separate line. And Emacs will automatically space out for us, but we want to make sure that we can see the structure of the code. Okay. It's easier to debug, easier to know what's going on. Okay. So that finishes chapter 3. The next thing we'll cover in chapter 4 is going to be repetition structures. We can get to the real power of computers and that we can do things over and over and over and over again. The computer has advantage, unlike people, it doesn't get tired.